Israel is different than all other countries in the world. Every country in the world is a country of its citizens. America is made for the American citizens. That's what I mean by that. Italy for the Italian citizens. You mentioned before that there are ethno-states. Ethno-states are made for a certain ethnicity of its citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Israel's different than all of that.
Why is Israel different from an ethno-state?
I'll tell you why. Much different than an ethno-state. Because Israel claims that it is not only the state, because it's the state of all the Jews all over the world. Zionism presupposes two things. One, the Jews are a nationality, not just a religion. And two, Israel is the country of that nationality. That means...
It means, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Zees Political Arrow. When you argue with a rabbi, you lose badly. Starring our guest Jake Newfield, who's currently navigating a theological and political maze without a GPS. On today's menu, Zionism, ethno-state, and a masterclass in why words matter from an anti-Zionist rabbi who's really trying to educate Jake. But will Jake get it? Or will he just keep throwing out terms like ethno-state the way people misuse literally? Let's find out.
Two things. Thing number one, if you live in Israel, even if you're an Israeli citizen and you're not Jewish, Israel's not your country, in the sense that, based on the 2018 nation-state law, only Jews have rights to self-determination in Israel.
How is it different from an ethno-state?
Let me finish, please. So that means two things. The second thing is going to be how it differs, but you need thing number one to understand thing number two, please. Thing number one, if you live in Israel and you're not Jewish, Israel's not your country, meaning you have no self-determination rights in Israel.
Unless you're an Arab citizen, which there's plenty.
No, even if you're an Arab citizen.
Really? Because there's people in the Knesset and the government who are Arab.
I didn't say you can't be the Knesset. I said you have no self-determination rights.
What does it mean, self-determination?
Self-determination rights means the rights to govern yourself, meaning only Jews have the right to govern themselves in Israel, meaning right now, so sure, you can be a member of the Supreme Court, you could do whatever you want, you have these civil rights, as long as you're a minority. Then you can do whatever you want, but you cannot control the country. That right belongs to the Jews. And so long as the Jews are a majority, no big deal. It's a slam dunk. But should there be what Israel calls a demographic threat, should there be millions of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza, such that if Israel annexes it, now the Jews will be in danger of being a minority, Israel cannot allow that. What will they do? Will they make laws that the minority of Jews have control over the majority of non-Jews? Will they make some shtick to ensure that only the Jews are a majority? So far, it hasn't happened. I mean, that's part of the reason why they didn't annex the West Bank and Gaza. They can't make the Palestinians citizens of Israel the way, let's say, America made the Texans that they conquered, the Mexicans that they conquered into Texans. But only Jews have a right, that's an ethno-state. Israel takes it one step further. Israel's not only not the state of the Jews, of the non-Jews who are in Israel. Israel is the state of the Jews who are not in Israel.
Like an ethno-state?
No. No other state. You've heard, no state claims to be the state of people who are not its citizens, never were its citizens, never lived there. You've heard, I'm sure, the talking point. It's false. That there's only one Jewish state, and I think 25, 30, 28, whatever is Arab states, Muslim states. It's not true. There's not a single Muslim state that claims to be the nation state of all Muslims in the world. Saudi Arabia doesn't claim it's the state of all Muslims.
Not all Muslims, but there are states that have a Muslim identity or
but
government.
That Israel was past that. Israel claims to be the state of all Jews all over the world, meaning Netanyahu, before he came to America to speak to Congress regarding Barack Obama's Iran deal, he said, I come to America to represent not only the people who voted for me, but all Jews all over the world. He's not the Pope of the Jews, the way the Pope is the Pope of the Catholics.
I don't like that guy. I mean, he does things that are wrong.
But it's not just Netanyahu. all the way from the beginning of Zionism. Theodor Herzl, in his book, The Jewish State, said that the Zionists have a right, a legal right, to speak in the name of all Jews, and he went around saying he did. The legal right was an ancient Roman law called negotiorum gestio, which says that if you have a piece of chattel with nobody to take care of it, you, as a stranger, could manage it on behalf of the owner. The Jews have nobody to take care of them, so the Zionists become the legal gestors of the Jews, and they can speak in the name of the Jews. Our president, President Trump, he spoke to a group of Jews and he said, your prime minister, referring to Netanyahu, your country Israel. No head of state would refer to any group in country, the citizens of his country, as a foreign head of state being your prime minister. Israel claims to be the state of all Jews. No other country does that.
But that's problematic of Donald Trump. That's problematic of Netanyahu.
It's problematic of Zionism in general, because that's what Zionism says. The 2018 nation-state law says Israel is not just that Jews in Israel have more rights. Israel is the nation-state of all Jews. Israel claims that the Jews are a nationality, and Israel
Doesn't the Torah claim that they're national?
No, it doesn't.
Am Yisrael?
Am means a society, not a nationality. You want to go off into that? What's the difference? Because it says women are a special Am. Women are an Am amongst themselves. That doesn't mean nationality. It means they're like a society. There's a female point of view, etc. When we speak about the Kohanim, in synagogue we say Kohanim, Am Kadoshecha. The Kohanim are a special Am. They're not another nationality. Am doesn't mean nationality. These translations that Zionists give you, that the word Am or any word in the Bible refers to a modern nation state or modern nationality thing, that's a concept that did not even exist then, is not true. And none of these words refer to Jews. You want to know what the Jews are according to the Bible? Rabbi Saadia Gaon, 1,000 years ago, said, he was talking about, he has a sefer, a book, Emunas V'Deis, and in there he's discussing, he lived in Egypt, and in there he's discussing Islam. And there were these religious debates. And the Muslims believe in something called abrogation, which means that God took the law from the Jews and gave it to the Muslims, and now Muhammad is the last prophet. And Rabbi Saadia wants to say, no, that's not true, and I'll prove it to you from the Bible. And he says that he has verses in the Bible that says the Jewish people will exist forever. And he said, if the Jewish people exist forever, they will always have the Torah forever. Because Ein umaisenu uma el b'seirasa. The Jewish people are only the Jewish people because they have the Torah. Without the Torah, they wouldn't be the Jews, without a Torahless Jews. There's no such thing as a Torahless Jews. The definition of the Jewish people are the people that have the Torah. If another nation would have had the Torah, they would be the Jews. And as I mentioned before, the definition of a Jew, according to the Torah, is somebody who's fulfilled 613, not fulfilled, somebody who's obligated to fulfill the 613 commandments. We are not a nationality, according to the Torah, in the slightest. We are a group of people who are deputized by God who have a calling, you can call it, to be a Mamleches Kohanim V'Goy Kodesh, the verse you described before, a priestly people. We have a job description, and we were given this job by God. We accepted it on Mount Sinai. We have a tradition that the souls of all future generations of Jews did accept it. Those souls will be recognizable because they will be born of Jewish mothers. We have a tradition, by the way, according to Jewish law, the same law that says being Jewish follows maternal lineage, says tribal and family affiliation follows paternal lineage. Therefore, being a Jew cannot be being a part of a tribe or a family, because maternal lineage is what determines it, as opposed to a tribal lineage or familial lineage. And look at the modern nations. What national characteristics did Jews ever have? Did we ever have a common language?
Yes.
Yeah, which language?
Hebrew.
Yeah, when did we speak Hebrew?
A while ago? I don't know.
Okay. So for thousands of years, Jews have not spoken Hebrew. Now, the Zionists have convinced themselves a funny story about Netanyahu and the Pope. This is also on YouTube. You Google Netanyahu Pope. Pope comes to Netanyahu and they're speaking to each other through an interpreter. And the Pope and Netanyahu says to the Pope that Jesus lived here in Israel and he spoke Hebrew here. So the Pope corrects him. He says, no, Aramaic. And the Pope is right. The Jews spoke Aramaic then. And the Jews did in biblical times speak Hebrew, but that's not what made them a people. The Jews were made into a people, as the Bible says.
You asked if they spoke all the same language.
No, there was a time they did, but most of the time they didn't. For thousands of years they didn't, and they were still Jews. They had no flag, they had no national anthem, they had no common land, language, or culture. And yet they're 100% Jews. There are no national characteristics to the Jews. Now, the Einu Moiseinu Uma Ela B'Soiraso, because the definition of a Jew is somebody that is obligated to fulfill the 613 commandments, as opposed to the rest of the world that's obligated to fulfill 7. That's it. Whenever you see the word Jew, you could put in brackets and replace that word with somebody who's obligated to fulfill the 613.
And there you have it, folks. Did the rabbi successfully educate Jake Newfield, or did he spend the last 11 minutes performing intellectual CPR on a patient who refused to wake up? Well, let's just say that if debates had scoreboards, the rabbi would be lapping Jake. But Jake is still out here arguing like a guy trying to convince a fish that water isn't real. The rabbi laid it out in painstaking detail. Why Israel isn't just an ethno-state, but a nationality by proxy experiment that claims to represent Jews worldwide, something no other country does. But while the rabbi was dissecting legal frameworks and historical context, Jake was still pointing out Arab set members like a guy at a steakhouse insisting it's a salad bar because someone ordered a side of broccoli. Then came the Torah argument, where the rabbi patiently explained that Judaism, according to tradition, is not a nationality but a people defined by their covenant and commandments. Meanwhile, Jake kept trying to translate Am Israel into nation state, like a tourist butchering a foreign language. So did Jake walk away entitled? Probably not. But did the rabbi at least give him an intellectual workout? Absolutely. And for the rest of us, well, at least we got a front row seat at a one-sided masterclass in how to lose an argument in 60 minutes or less. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, y'all. And I hope to catch you on the next one.